If you are curious how this tangled mass of twisted roots became this striking piece of art, stick around. I'll take you through every step of the transformation. If you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. I've got more wild bears like this just waiting to come to life. This project began with a dense, contorted chunk of Manzanita burl, a root ball pulled from the ground, still packed with dirt deep in its crevices. Manzanita is no easy material, tough, unpredictable, and riddled with voids, but that's what makes it exciting. I trimmed it round on the bandsaw using a circle cutting jig. The blank came out to around 10 inches wide, just right for my casting mold, a 5-gallon bucket with a 10-inch base. First step, cleanup. I brushed off all the loose bark, dirt, and debris that might interfere with the resin bond with a wire brush wheel mounted on my lathe. For the stubborn stuff, stones, bark, and packed dirt, I worked in by hand using picks and small chisels until I hit clean, stable wood. To keep it from floating during pour, I pinned it down using a scrap wood and duct tape. For the resin, I mixed an emerald green base with a hint of blue to purple color shift and a touch of black to deepen the tone. Once poured, the whole thing went into the pressure pot for a 72-hour cure, enough time to force out all the bubbles and get a clean, solid casting. And here is the result. Smooth resin, no cracks, no cloudiness, just a wild bear perfectly encased in glassy green. I mounted the blank between centers and started roughing it out. My first goal was to round the form and cut a temporary tenon on what would be the top. I began at around 500 RPM and slowly increased the speed as the blank stabilized. With epoxy involved, I stick to carbide tools. Traditional edges just dull too quickly. Once the temporary tenon was in, I flipped the blank and flattened the bottom to attach the final tenon. I've glued the tenon with wood glue and let it cure overnight, then reinforcing the seam with hot glue for added security. Now, firmly mounted in the chuck, I could start shaping the outer profile. I began by rounding the shape to help stabilize it on the lathe, allowing me to gradually increase the speed up to around 1000 RPM. The initial cuts were heavy to quickly remove bulk material. Although this caused some minor epoxy chipping, switching to lighter passes and using a scraper helped refine the shape and smooth out the surface. With the outer shape done, it was time to tackle the inside. Instead of wasting material, I used my one-way coring system to extract the smaller bowl from the center. Coring hybrid blanks like this take patience and sharp tools, but the payoff is double the pieces from a single casting. Before sanding, I filled small voids and cracks with CA glue. Manzanita can be rugged. Sometimes it takes a few rounds of filling and sanding to get a stable surface. For sanding, I started at 40 grit and worked up to a 180, leaving just enough tooth for the top coat epoxy to grip. After sanding, I wiped down both the inside and outside of the bowl with denatured alcohol to remove dust and prepare the surface for finishing. For the finish, I started with a clear coat of epoxy to seal the surface and enhance the grain. Warming the epoxy helped it flow evenly. For applying epoxy, I mounted the bowl on my slow-speed motor, upgraded from a rotisserie motor to better handle the weight of heavy pieces. To eliminate surface bubbles, I gently pass a torch over the epoxy, then let it spin overnight while it cures. By morning, it was mostly smooth, just a few bubbles and bumps to sand down. For the top coat finish, I used the two-step finishing system by Clean Armor. First, I applied Wood 750 tabletop sealer. It cures fast under UV light, just a few minutes per coat. After a quick sanding with 220 grit, I applied 3 layers of Wood 757 top coat, curing and sanding between each. Once fully cured, I sanded the entire bowl from 220 all the way up to 1500 grit. Then, using Yorkshire grit, original and microfine, I polished the surface to a glassy high gloss finish that brings out every twist and detail of the grain. Finally, I gave the bowl a gentle buff with beeswax to enhance the glossy sheen. To separate the bowl from the tenon, I used the parting tool, then finished the cut with a Japanese pool saw. To clean up the base, I mounted the bowl on my vacuum chuck. Finally, I applied the same topcoat finish as the rest of the piece for a seamless, consistent look. This bowl was a joy to create. Challenging, yes, but incredibly rewarding. If you enjoyed this build, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more and drop a comment below. Let me know what part you liked most or what you liked to see next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.